Welcome back to Zion's Redemption Radio Network. I'm your host, Mark Licton Walters. So today we're going over part two, which is still the preface, pages 4 and 5 of Mysteries of Creation. And, you know, Ogden makes a really good point. Like, only the prophets have been able to understand the limited knowledge of the creation, and it's by prophets that we learn about the creation. But he talks about the limited nature of most of the prophets and the knowledge of the creation. And part of that is because it's just like with Nephi, um, and other prophets, like they knew more than they could say. Joseph Smith was the same way. They didn't have permission. They did not have permission to lay it out completely as clearly as somebody else would. So Nephi, he knew what John knew, but John was the one who was supposed to talk about that, not Nephi. So Nephi did the best that he could do to kind of convey the message, but he was not given the allowance to share everything that he knew. And Joseph Smith was the same way. Like he could give the people as much as he could give them, but because of their um, their lack of obedience, I think. He couldn't share more, but also it wasn't for him to share everything. Um, it was reserved for me to share all of these things. That's why I know so much more than they do. And I didn't receive that knowledge because I learned it by Joseph Smith. A lot of the time it was God would teach me something, and then he would inspire me to look at something else, and then I would be like, oh, so and so talked about this, but I wouldn't even realize that they had talked about it for some reason. But it was like kind of cool because God would show me something, and then he would show me where somebody else had talked about it, but he had given me so much more information. So anyway, um, we're just going to get into the summary, and then we'll have the reading on pages 4 and 5. And I might be a little bit late today because I didn't even start today until 4:30, and I am just getting on the scale. 43,220 pounds. That's my lightweight. So yay. Anyway, so I got to get this thing loaded, and then I'm going to be headed up to Boise, and then back to Wilder, and then back to Nampa. And hopefully tomorrow, actually, it'll probably be, let's see, today's Tuesday, January 6th. I'll probably be back into Utah on Thursday morning, early in the morning. So it is what it is, and I enjoy doing what I do, but I really got to get going. So thank you for watching, everyone. I'm just going to have two parts, this part and the reading, and I'm not going to be doing a commentary at the end, unless probably I won't. So anyway, I got to get going. Got to get this loaded so I can get out of here. Just started, and thank you, everyone, for watching me. Like my safety glasses? Shalom.
Summary, Part 2, pages 4-5. Preference of Mysteries of Creation by Ogden Kraut. Ogden Kraut emphasizes that Scripture alone, without ongoing revelation, often leads to confusion and conflicting interpretations, especially regarding the subject of creation. While humanity universally feels awe when contemplating the universe and its creator, most understanding has come through speculation by scientists, philosophers, and theologians, rather than divine revelation. He asserts that only God's prophets have ever gained even a partial understanding of creation, and even they received only limited insight. As a result, prophetic statements themselves sometimes appear conflicting, contributing to doctrinal uncertainty. Kraut notes that although there are clear differences between LDS beliefs and other religions, significant disagreements also exist within Mormonism itself on creation-related doctrines. These include questions such as, who created the heavens and the earth, the Father, the Son, or both? Were multiple immortal beings involved? Who was the God of the Old Testament? How long did creation take? Who is the only begotten? Can spirits create physical matter? What was the fall? What is the ultimate destiny of mankind? Quoting Brigham Young, Kraut acknowledges that these matters are mysteries beyond even the wisest minds and are difficult for most people to fully grasp. In contrast, Joseph Smith taught that repeated study leads to greater appreciation and understanding. The author likens the doctrine of creation to a jigsaw puzzle, where understanding comes gradually as individual pieces are fitted together, yet some critical pieces appear to be missing. Finally, Kraut clarifies that this book does not claim to fully resolve all questions, but instead aims to offer additional insight and clarity. Each chapter is intended to serve as a stepping stone, helping the reader gradually form a clearer picture of creation and reduce, though not eliminate, the mysteries surrounding it. Part 2, pages 4 and 5 of Mysteries of Creation. Pages 4 and 5. Without the additional benefit of revelation, the scriptures are confusing and misunderstood, and incorrect interpretations usually result. Nevertheless, mankind looks with awe into the great vault of the universe and wonders at creation and the Creator. The wonder of how it was created, why it was created, and who created it, does not escape the mind of mortal man. Astronomers, cosmologists, scientists, and most of mankind have speculated on this subject ever since the beginning of time. Only a very few have ever gained the remotest understanding of their creation, and they were God's prophets. And yet, even they have gleaned only a meager understanding of the mysteries of the universe, and from their words unfortunately came many conflicting statements concerning the creation. There are numerous and obvious doctrinal differences between the LDS religion and other world religions, but pertaining to the subject of creation there are many disagreements just among the Mormons. This book will attempt to identify and clarify some of these problems and contradictions, such as, who created the heavens and the earth, the Father or Jesus? Or did they do it together? Were many immortals involved in the creation? Who was the God of the Old Testament, the Father or the Son? How long did it take to create the earth? Who is the only begotten? Can spirits create anything physical? What was the fall? What is the destiny of man? As Brigham Young stated, these are things that scarcely belong to the best of this congregation, and also, it is a mystery to the wisest there is upon the earth. But Joseph Smith said, he who reads it oftenest will like it best. This subject is somewhat like a great jigsaw puzzle, which must be fitted together one small piece at a time before the whole picture can be seen, and apparently some of the important pieces are missing. So this brief effort does not attempt to answer all these questions completely, but merely to provide further knowledge and insight into forming a better understanding of the earth's creation. Each chapter of this book is a stepping stone, or another piece to the puzzle, and hopefully by the last chapter, a more clear picture will be visible, and there will be a few less mysteries of creation. Summary, Part 2, pages 4-5. Preference.